This lesson is on inequalities and word problems. We're going to talk about some keywords, some examples of easy sentences, and word problems. First, let's talk about vocabulary of inequalities. These are the phrases that you should see in word problems and the symbol that goes with them. If we hear something like more than, greater than, exceeds, it's always the greater than symbol. If we hear at least, not less than, or a minimum amount, it's greater than or equal to. Less than, lower than, or smaller than is less than. And at most, up to, not more than, cannot exceed, maximum amount, this is a less than or equal to sign. Of course, this is only just some of the words that you may see. There are other words in this group that I may or not have added, but just so that you get an idea of what words go with which symbol. More than likely, I will give you a handy cutout for you to keep or put on your memory aid with the phrases and the symbol that goes with it. First, let's try changing these sentences into inequalities. When translating words into inequalities, it's important to define your variable, which means what exactly is x in this question. My first question is, my first statement, Mr. Smith has more than 6 pairs of socks. Mrs. Smith buys a minimum of 7 pencils. Mr. Bean borrows no more than 8 books from the library, and Mrs. Bean has at least 7 notebooks. So what does X, and what is the words that we see from the last slide? Mr. Smith has more than. Well, more than should be the greater than sign. 6 pairs of socks. Socks will be your X, so X has to be greater than 6. For number 2, Mrs. Smith buys a minimum of 7 pencils. Minimum is your keyword, and pencils is your X. So a minimum is greater than or equal to 7. Mr. Bean borrows no more than. So no more than is your keyword for inequalities, and your X represents books. In this case, X has to be less than or equal to 8. And finally, at least 7 notebooks. At least is your keywords. Notebooks will be your X. So X is greater than or equal to 7. Now we're just going to add a little bit more. Here's a word problem that we're going to do throughout the next few slides. Jimmy wants to have no more than $200 in the account by the end of the summer. He withdraws $25 each week for food, clothes, and movie tickets. Write an inequality that represents Jimmy's situation. And how many weeks can Jimmy withdraw money from his account before he spends all of his $200, and justify your answer? First, we're going to highlight all the important information that is in this question. I've already done some for you. Jimmy wants to have no more than $200, and he withdraws $25 each week. In this case, what will your variable represent, and what do you not know? What phrase in this question makes you know that it's going to be an inequality? Your unknown variable in this case is weeks. Like, you don't know how many weeks go by. That's what you're trying to find. And can you guess what the inequality is for this situation? I'll give you a hint. It's highlighted here in orange. In this case, $25 per week has to be less than or equal to $200. So no more than, less than or equal to, withdrawing $25 each week. So 25 times weeks has to be less than or equal to 200. And this here, remember, is your end of summer amount. So this is how you set up your inequality. So now the question is, how many weeks can he withdraw money before he spends all of his $200? So we're going to solve the inequality. In this case, we're going to divide both sides by 25, and we get W is less than or equal to 8. But what exactly does this answer mean, W is less than or equal to 8, in context with the question? How many weeks can Jimmy withdraw money before he spends all his $200? This W is less than or equal to 8 means that Jimmy has less than or equal to 8 weeks to spend $25 a week before he goes completely broke. So in this case, at the 9th week, he won't have his $200 anymore. So it has to be less than or equal to 8 weeks. Here's another example. Jimmy's hair is 4 centimeters long. His hair grows 1.5 centimeters per month. Jimmy wants his hair to grow so that it is at least 7 centimeters long. So remember, it starts at 4 centimeters it grows at 1.5 centimeters per month, and he wants it to be at least 7 centimeters long. Determine the number of months, M, it will take Jimmy's hair to grow so it is at least 7 centimeters long. Try to make an inequality for the situation and solve for M. So, looking at the question, in this case, Jimmy starts at 4 centimeters, plus his hair grows at 1.5 centimeters per month, and we want it to be at least 7 centimeters. So this is exactly what the question is saying to us, only this time we put it into numbers and a variable. So this is how much hair he started with, how much it grows, the symbol for at least, and his minimum length. Now let's solve it. If we want to determine the number of months, or the minimum number of months, we are going to subtract 4 from both sides, then we're going to divide by 1.5, and we get that M is greater than or equal to 2. But again, what does this mean, M is greater than or equal to 2? If the solution is M is greater than 2, Jimmy has to wait at least 2 months before his hair will be 7 centimeters long. That's what this means. I'm going to give you 2 word problems that I would like you to try on your own. The answers are on this video, but I do want you to pause it after each time I read the question. Jimmy receives an allowance of $3 per week. In addition, he can earn $2 for each chore he does. This week, he wants to earn enough money to buy a DVD for $13. How many chores must he do in this week? How many chores must he do this week to earn enough for a DVD? Pause and solve your question. Play it to find the answer. The answer for this question is C is greater than or equal to 5. The inequality was 3 plus 2C is greater than or equal to 13. So Jimmy would have to do at least 5 chores. A second question that I would like you to answer is, Jimmy's school is having a spring fling dance, which will cost $400. Jimmy's on the organizing committee and has reported that the dance fund has $75 left over from last year. Each ticket to the dance costs $4. What is the minimum amount of tickets that needs to be sold to pay for this year's dance? Again, I would like you to actually do this question, pause the video, come up with an inequality, and solve for the variable. In this case, the inequality problem is 75 plus 4t, t for tickets, is greater than or equal to 400. And then solving for t, you get t is greater than or equal to 81.25, or to be sure, 82 tickets. We're going to round it up just to be extra sure.